This is Front and Nationwide on the Athletic Podcast Network.
Rick, you've been a part of a lot of games and a lot of seasons. Have you ever been part of something that's as frustrating as this has been down the stretch?
No. And you know what? All you got to do is look at the stat sheet. 3 hits, 23 giveaways. Like, I don't know if I'm back, but if I'm back, I'm changing this culture. These guys, they don't care. Losing is not important enough to them. It doesn't bother them. Like, how can you go out and play like that? Should have done this about a month ago. But this is why we are where we are. This is why we're out of the playoffs. That kind of effort. Losing, you have to hate losing. I don't care if it's a meaningless game. I don't care. Show up and compete. 3 hits, 23 giveaways. What else you want to know?
You reached them for so long after you got here. How did it stop? Where did it stop?
Because it got tough. Because it got hard. Like we talked about after the Olympic break. It's going to get harder. So everything's good as long as it's going their way. And now it gets tough, we don't want to battle back. And that's what's happened over the last a couple of weeks. That's all that's happened. We're going to change that. If I'm back, I don't know if I'm back. Don and I will talk. We'll get to that. But man, oh man, some of those guys are so lucky the season's over and there's no practice tomorrow. Anyways, and there's no more games. What else you want to know?
I think even in the long history of this franchise, I don't think they've ever lost 6 games in a row to end a season at home.
No.
Is that worse?
It's terrible. Inexcusable. If they're not embarrassed by, not only tonight, by that, they're on the wrong team. They are. They got to be embarrassed with that.
Hello and welcome to Front and Nationwide. This is the podcast for all things Blue Jackets all the time. Blue Jackets end the season last night, a 2-1 loss to Washington, but nobody cares about the game or that score. What they are talking about today and will be for a while was Rick Bowness's post-game comments following the Blue Jackets' 6th straight home loss at the end of the season, by far their longest losing streak at the end of a season at home. Tied for the second longest losing streak in franchise history, the longest in more than a decade in terms of home losses. Just a brutal way to give this thing back, really. They were in a playoff spot. They blew it. Rick Bowness really got into it last night. You could tell he wanted to vent. There was a series of loud bangs in the hallway behind where Bowness comes out to have his post-game press conferences. Maybe we'll get some description of this down in future years, but it sure sounded like a stick. I mean, we're in a hockey environment. It sounded like a stick being just hammered against the wall in that room behind the press conference room. You could tell he wanted to vent when he came out, red-faced. I asked the first couple of few questions, and honestly, Bones was moved to tears. And follow that up by saying some incredibly powerful, invasive, really, I would say just raw truth, his raw truth anyways. I'm sure others would disagree. It probably could have used this speech 2 weeks ago, which is what Bowness lamented in his words as well. You've probably seen it. Let's get to the clip of his, just the first couple minutes, the first 3 questions where he really got into it, and then we'll chat on the other side of those. You've seen him, but it's probably a good idea to have a little refresher here before we get going. Michael Arace from The Disrespected is going to join us briefly. Let's get to Bones. Okay, yeah. Pretty powerful stuff there. I think what set this apart, there have been other post-game press conference rants in the past. Ken Hitchcock lamented a few times that his players wanted it to be easy, very brief words, and stormed out. John Tortorella, of course. You remember most of the time he was angry with officials, but he would call his own guys out a lot of times. No hit games, just no shows. That was a John Tortorella thing. You remember him banging the podium. And do you remember that little Tim Hortons display cup that the Blue Jackets used to have up there as a promotional? They sold that. It was an ad. He would bang the podium, and everyone's eyes would be stuck to is that thing going to tip over? It was empty, of course, but just a little sort of second element in the camera. Listen, Bones got to the quick of some things here. He did backpedal as his words went on. When he said they don't care, that was for me, a really arresting moment. He later said they do care, and he's been saying all along that they do care. It's really hard, and I don't mind people critiquing what I write. There are some people who think you're too tough on the team. There are some people who want you to be tougher. I hope people understand that it's difficult from the outside looking into the dressing room. You do have access, but you're not in there for the real meat of it. And to call a team out for not caring, I have said written repeatedly, that when this thing dialed up, this team went away. The moment was too rich for them. That's how I saw these last few weeks. Rick Bowness said that last night, flat out, that when it got really difficult, when the playoff push started, they disappeared. So many individual players became members of the chorus, not members of the lead group of actors. They didn't want it anymore. It was a little too rich for them. And to hear a coach say that, I think really resonates with people. I think what made it so powerful is there are people in the stands or people at home watching that those are the things that they've seen, that they have felt, and to have a coach articulate it. It may also have been Bowness announcing that, yes, he wants to be back next year. I think the Blue Jackets want him to bring back. I think now we can say it's probably more likely than not that Rick Bowness is the coach of this team next year. But I'll be really interested later today. This is Wednesday morning. Later today, the players will be available after they clean out their lockers. I'll be very interested to see what some of the veterans say. If they agree with him, if anybody has the balls to push back on that, on him saying, but he did say they don't care. And then later on, he said, they do care. This is me ranting, but they don't care enough about losing, was the overarching theme. It doesn't bother them enough to lose. So yeah, this is going to sort of paint a large portion of the off season, right? Is Boone Jenner here next year? If he's here next year, is he the captain next year? This is all on board now. When you call out leadership like that, everything is on board. So we'll get into this with Michael Arace. What else do we need to get to? I don't even feel like there's anything worth talking to. We've got plenty of time to discuss the UFAs, who's coming back. I thought it was interesting that Don Waddell had a lengthy one-on-one chat in the dressing room with Charlie Coyle after the game last night. I don't know what that is, except I'm guessing it's the GM thanking him for his role in his play this year and telling him that he wants him back. I do think he wants him back. But I don't think you can have that press conference and then bring the whole band back together again. There's got to be some changes this summer. We've got all kinds of time to get into that. We've got some AskPorty questions to get to. As I said, Michael Arace from the Disrespected Media is going to be with us, and we'll get into this. This is going to be something that's talked about for a while. Again, I think the Rick Bowness fan club in Columbus, Ohio, expanded by a few hundred members last night at least. I could just hear people listening to that saying, "Speak the truth, coach," because it's been a tough run here. The other question I have for him too, is, and I come back to this all the time, this team, this group does not bear the blame for some of the truly awful teams and the crap that's gone on here in years past, right? Jet Greaves, this is his first NHL year. So when people talk about this team has always been this or always been that, so many of the names have changed. I think there's a couple things that need to change around here. One thing I would like to see, because I think it would mean a lot to the fan base, is I would like Blue Jackets ownership. I think they've taken quite a bit of criticism from people here. Whenever it turns south here, they become an issue, and it's all fair. I'm not speaking anyone out of their opinions. I would like to see the ownership here be more visible and more available to fans, more known to fans. I'd like to see them weigh in, not with PR approved comments, not with staged interviews, not with rote messages, but in conversation. And of course, they can't tell. They can't. There's only so much they can say. We know this, but I think the perception of them being a disengaged ownership is a little unfair. But if they're not engaged with the team and the fan base and the public side of all of this, I get it, and maybe that's just proof that they're not engaged. I would like to hear more from them. I think it's time for a different level of energy and a different voice in the room. It sure sounds like Werenski has become the spokesman for the group. He's the guy who speaks to what's going on with the franchise now. So maybe Werenski's the captain on this team next year, one way or the other. We'll get into all of this. Again, Michael Arace from The Disrespected coming up. We're going to talk about Bones. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. All right, here we are. Michael Arace of Disrespected Media is with us. Rachi, the roles have reversed. It is now I, the host. You might be a little uncomfortable with this. Me asking questions. We're just having a conversation. Welcome to Front Nationwide. How are you, my man?
Porty, I'm doing famously well. I've tended some bar over the years, and I think the host is kind of like a bartender. And
Yeah.
I always said when I was bartending that it's better on the other side of the bar. So I'm happy to be here on the other side of the bar as you serve me whatever you're going to serve me today.
Yeah. Well, let's get to it. Let me pour you a stiff one here early. That's a segue. Rick Bowness last night.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily expect that until I heard the loud stick wax against the wall in the room behind the press conference room. Clearly a coach on a tirade, pissed off, and then you saw him walk into the room red-faced. Your overall overarching thoughts on one of the great post-game coach rant / tirades of our time.
Yeah, and certainly in Blue Jackets history. And there's been a couple of pretty good practitioners of the post-game rant in this town over the years. There was the stick whack of the stick rack, and then later what was obviously a calculated cacophony in the ante room / hallway and back of the press room, press conference room. I compared that to at the disrespected.com to Pete Townsend taking a Stratocaster to an amplifier. There seemed to be some performance to it for sure. Comes in the room, you ask him the first question, and off he goes. I'm sure a lot of people have seen the video. If they haven't, it's all over the place, including my website and the disrespected.com and then at my YouTube channel, among other places. But Brian Hedger, the Columbus Dispatch, said something that stuck to me like an earwig. He said Bowness was probably walking down the tunnel there and heard it from the fans, like same old Blue Jackets, and then said, "Here, hold my beer." So I'm not saying there was anything phony about his rant because well, we'll get to that in a second. But that was my take on it. Was that this was as Bowness said, long overdue, probably by at least 2 weeks, and two came from absolutely pure and true territory in Bones's mind and in his gut and other appendages, and that there was also sprinkled in a little bit of performance art, a little Animal from the Muppet Show, some Keith Moon from the Who, maybe some Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I don't know. I'm old, Porty. What would you say? Does Jason Isbell do this stuff?
No. 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 Who does? Yeah. No. I agree with you with the. I do think there was. I think he wanted that. It wasn't a question. Didn't set him off. He wanted. He was going there, no matter what the first question was.
No question.
And I had to go back because I was like, he was emotional, fighting back tears. Like, I did hear that, right? I went back and played it. Like, oh yeah, he was really emotional at the start of it, where he even had to like gather himself. He like, you could hear him. I do think it was genuine. I also think it was a statement. I'd like a crack at this. I'd like to be back next year. Judy and I would like to come back next year. And I think by this, I think the Rick Bowness fan club has grown by a few hundred people overnight, where I don't want to say Jim Don Waddell has to bring him back. I think he wants to anyways. But boy, there's going to be a lot of people pissed off if they don't.
No, that was absolutely my takeaway, Porty. Two things to that, and I wrote about it as well. I imagine that our columns rhyme this morning. Although I just got up, Porty, and to join you, I haven't even had coffee yet, so you got to take that into consideration. But I absolutely agree with you. I walked out of that room, and my first thought was he wants to come back, or he is coming back. Oh, you got coffee?
Yes.
Oh, geez. And my second thought was that, and the first thought was the overwhelming one. That was in banners across the front of my mind. Was like, that dude's coming back, or really wants to come back, as you and Tone or mentioned. And the second thing was, let me see. Give me a second here. I had it a minute ago. Then you had some coffee, and I got distracted. What was my second thing? Oh, early brain cramps. Oh, was that? And this was in my column as well, Porty. That this really, as you said, resonated with fans because this has been the culture thing.
Yeah.
The culture thing. It's easy to lose here.
Yes.
Accountability. The fans have felt this in their nether regions for on and off since the beginning of the franchise history, to 25 seasons ago, 26 years ago. There's why have they won just one playoff series in the history of the franchise? And only one other team in the NHL has not made it to a conference final. That's this 5-year-old Seattle Kraken, 5 or 6 or whatever they are. The Blue Jackets have only won one playoff series in their history because culture. At least that's a big part of it. And at the very least, fans understand that this is woven into the fabric of what's happened here over the years. And that's why also that Bowness's post-game rant had to resonate with the fans, and why I believe I put it at 99.9% of them probably want him back.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a tough thing from our perspective, and people will think that this is me or us being wussies. I just think you got to be really careful from our position saying that these guys don't care. Now, when a coach says it, let her rip, baby. I think there's so many other things at work. The other thing that I really struggle with is putting 25 years on this group, right? Because they haven't lost for 25 years. The franchise has, but the players are all different, obviously. The coaches have come and gone. I've said it before. I want to hear more from ownership. I want a more engaged ownership. But when this team loses and people say this year's just like all the others, I go, no, it's not. It's so different from all the others. In many ways, it's worse than the others because they have the talent to make the playoffs. I think we have to get over this idea that the playoffs are just so hard, that the playoffs are this way up there lofty goal. Half the freaking league makes the playoffs. Like literally half the league makes the playoffs. It's not that big a deal. But yeah, it's just this team is a major disappointment to me. Whereas last year, I think for multiple reasons, last year they felt like they were ascending, right? And they came up short. This team felt like they had it in front of them, and it sure looked, by the way that they played, that they weren't willing to pay the cost to hold on to it. And when Bones said that last night, it got tough. And when it got tough, these guys went away. That to me is almost more damning than the first part. But you could see it. Kirill Marchenko was not Kirill Marchenko. He just wasn't. Where was whatever? Did they make a trade for Connor Garland?
Yeah.
But they made a trade for Connor Garland. Ken Johnson had an awful season. It was an awful season.
Yes. Yeah.
And by any measure. And what's so different this year than last year, I think, is you saw Ken Johnson, you saw Voronkov, you saw so many of the guys that they're banking on doing this. And then this year feels like it was wasted rather than just not good enough. And that is even a bigger cardinal sin to me than a team that battles its ass off and can't get in.
Yeah,
so.
that is all 100% Porty. All I'd say to that is, I think it's because of the household that I've quote unquote led for all these years, that there's some very bright and hardcore Blue Jackets fans. The view from the fans' point of view resonates me because it's I see it in front of my face. Professionally, for sure, on some level, objectively, I'm still the journalist I always was. Just like you said, we have to have some measure of reasonableness to us when we rate anything. But I look at it also from a fan's point of view, and that culture thing resonated with me because I think it resonated with fans, and I think it resonated with fans because it's happened before, and it's kind of like, you can say, the Prussians are a warring type of people because they've had many, many wars over the centuries. Is the current German state warlike, in a warlike stance? No. The Blue Jackets have missed the playoffs many, many, many times over the course of their 25-year history, all but 7 of the years, if I'm not mistaken.
That's great.
Is this group a poor group with no sack or willingness? Are they bad people? No, definitely not. Is the culture a problem? Well, it's been a problem in the past, and history seems to be rhyming right now. That's all I'm saying, especially if you're looking at it from a fan's point of view.
For sure. Yeah, 100%. Something's not right. I mean,
part of it is ownership. I think it's overly simplistic. We've heard colleagues say, it always starts at the top, and there's some truth to that as well. But, maybe there's not enough demands. I don't know. I can't speak to the state of ownership because that's like Kremlin stuff. We don't know what's going on behind the curtain there.
And do you want Jerry Jones?
No.
You know what I mean?
I'm dealing with Jimmy Haslam with the crew, man.
Correct.
You don't want that.
I mean, Jimmy's going to draft another quarterback. That's another podcast. Yeah, to me, that's one of the things you fall back on when things aren't going well. But things aren't going well. And
Yeah.
they don't go well most years for Columbus. So everything's on board here. Direct question for you. Is Boone Jenner the captain of the Blue Jackets next year? I talked about this in the preamble before bringing you in here. I don't think so, but
I didn't get to hear your preamble.
Yeah.
That's unfair.
Well, I had to do an intro. I had to set up. We had to put Bones' quotes in there, give everybody refreshed. People hadn't had their coffee yet either, Mike. I had to warm them up for your.
I'm just meat, Porty. Yeah. But anyway, please continue.
Boone Jenner, captain next year or not?
All right. You know, and this is another thing. This is from it like sort of didn't matter one way or another to me. Obviously, as a UFA, I think they're bringing him back. I don't know. Obviously, it'll be on some team-friendly terms, or he'll go out and play for somebody else. In any case, this was something that one of my sons, Matthew, has spoken about twice on this podcast. He sometimes throws out under the disrespected umbrella. It's one of our Cannonballs podcasts. We call it Reign of Terror because those three boys were known as the Reign of Terror when they were younger: Owen, Timothy, Matthew. And this is something Matthew is banged on twice. And as I listened to it and edited their podcast, he talked about that's one of the first things they need to do is make Zach Werenski captain. And so this is something that he feels very deeply about, or at least that's his read on the situation. And when he talks about it, because Matthew's a quiet guy, when he comes out and kind of does this to the table, I was like, yeah. And the way the terms he put it in was this needs to, I mean, this is JFK in 1960 or something. This team needs to be in younger hands, a different leadership group. That's his point, and I think Matthews is correct.
I think the room needs to be louder. It's a quiet room. I think hockey players.
They're really nice group.
They are, and I think they have they show great deference to captains, and I think it's been pretty clear here now for more than a year that the spokesman of the group is Werenski.
Yeah.
He's the guy who, when the shit hits the fan, he's the guy that says, this is how bad it is, and here's what we have to do, and it's going to get better. I think Boone, I don't think anybody has more, I don't think anybody is a more reliable, respectable, good-hearted person, honestly, than Boone Jenner is. I mean that.
Or plays harder on every shift.
Absolute level. Plays his ass off.
So on and so forth.
He is wired a certain way, and I think it could work if in a different room at a different time for sure. I do think it is time for a different voice, and we've seen it here in Columbus before. They took the captaincy away from Luke Richardson. I'm not saying Boone can't be back if he's not the captain, but I would bet that he is not the captain next year strongly. I don't think you can have a coach call out the culture of a team and again bring the band back with the same those same composition. That's just my feeling.
Porty, that's 100. That's well put. You should be a writer.
Thanks. I do try. What did you like about this season? When you come out of this season, there's not a ton of Werenski was Werenski. Is there something you go, boy, that's the real positive revelation of this year? For me, it's a goalie. I'm wondering if for you, if there's something that jumps out to you as something we learned in the positive this year.
Okay, for sure the goalie. I think what you have there is a top 10 goalie in the league, and he's 25 years old. Yeah. That's really good. Porty, what I would say was this was a team capable of going 19-2-4 over a span of 25 games.
Yeah,
right. However many. So that is the thing that where I have been would be one of the things that really uplifts me. You watch them do that over a span of 25 games, which is, a little more than a quarter of a season.
Yeah.
And so to me, that says that this core can do that. Okay. And it's a terrible shame that it didn't keep doing that or something close to it, and then fell on their face and lost all their whole games and didn't get in the playoffs, and everyone is talking about the culture again. But to me, that's an encouraging thing, Porty, is you have a team that can play that well for that span of time. It speaks to the core, and I think we're all fascinated to see what Don Waddell does next, either at the very core of the team or around the edges, to foster an expansion of that kind of winning tact.
Yeah. See, and I agree with you. It's in there, but it really bothers me that it wasn't in there when it mattered.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the hardest thing to fix. Like, I've said this before. This is some serious amateur shit talk here. I think a lot of us could blow up a roster, load up with prospects, right, and put a team in the right direction. I think that'd be fun.
Honestly. Yeah.
But it gets really hard when you get to here and you've got to get there.
Yeah.
I think that's where they are right now. And those are the really difficult decisions. Boy, the Chinnikov thing might bite them in the ass for the next 10 to 12 years, right?
Yes.
You also have to be careful with this. You can't make these trades out of frustration. Well, it's not working here, kaboom. But that to me is Don Waddell's challenge this summer. He spoke to the Blue Jackets radio group last night. Dylan Tyrer spoke to him, and he mentioned, there was a caveat in there. He felt like they needed to add more depth this offseason. Now that is going to change if they lose Charlie Coyle, if they lose Mason Marchment, if they lose those guys. It's not just depth they need. They need it. They need the stuff. So I think that would change it. And it was also said before Bowness's rant last night. I think that conversation they have, I think Bowness is going to be back, but I think that's going to be the conversation. But what is really going to be interesting to me is what becomes of Voronkov, what becomes of Kent Johnson, what becomes of these players that they were banking on. I know people are frustrated with Cole Sillinger's production. I'm fine with Cole Sillinger.
Yeah, I got no problem with Cole Sillinger.
And I think the goals are going to be there. I don't think he's going to score 7 goals the rest of his career. I think he's a 15 to 20 guy. I do. And I think that's
he found a place out of position, so to speak, on a certain line, didn't he? But anyway, continue, Porty.
Well, he's one of the guys that didn't fade away.
Right.
He didn't fade away. I thought he kept going. But those, we talked about, to me, Greaves was the real positive to this season, the one really good thing we learned. The worrisome thing is where some of these guys who are supposed to be the foundation of it really backpedaled. Like, I don't know what you do with Kent Johnson. I don't know what Kent Johnson thinks that he needs to do.
Right.
Frustrating things with him is I don't think we're going to hear from Kent Johnson what he really thinks he needs to do or he plans to do this summer. He just, like other guys in the room, does not articulate or isn't willing to articulate things well. So there's a lot of frustration there. I also question, can you have Connor Garland and Kent Johnson in your top 6, both of them, or top 9?
Yeah.
That's a real question. You better love Connor Garland because he's here for 6
years, baby. That's right.
Yeah. So off we go later briefly here to the rink for player cleanout day.
Porty, I would add one thing, and obviously, I'm weird this way, but
please.
I would also say if you look at Denton Matejchuk, 13 goals in what was essentially his rookie season, and
100%.
He was another guy down the stretch who played with the same level of fearlessness and joy that he did all season. That to me is very encouraging as well.
Yeah.
You make fun of me because I'm a huge fan of the player. Hashtag first ballot. But I'll take the abuse. He's my favorite jacket, and he's another guy that was there, a la Cole Sillinger, perhaps even. Yeah. He never faded away.
I would agree with that. I think there's something that has to be done on the back end. And I don't know what you do with it, but I think Matejchuk, I'm not ready to hashtag first ballot, but I think on the left side,
Take a stand, Porty.
they're too jammed up on the left side.
Yeah.
It's just the Rubik's Cube doesn't have the right number of pieces for each color. It has to be readjusted back there. I don't know how you do it. But that's another off season. What do you want to hear from the players today when we head over to Nationwide Arena? I certainly hope it's not performative. I would love it, not just for copy, but I would love it for the honesty of it, the backbone of it. If players today said, I love Bones, a lot of what he said last night was bullshit, and here's why.
Yeah.
I would respect that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we're going to hear that, but what are you listening for? What do you want to hear from the players today when they breeze by after having their exit interview?
It's Columbus, and so the accountability thing. I don't care whether players flog themselves or not, but it's sort of the and Boone is kind of the apotheosis of this. It's like, we weren't good enough. We got to be better. It's unacceptable. I've heard that in flat tones, as you have for forever, after seasons like this, and there's been a lot of seasons like this. I just want to hear something real. That's all. I don't even care what it is.
Right.
It's like, Bones is absolutely right. And you know what? He should have said that a month ago, because you know what? This guy over here sucks. This room has problems.
Right.
Something. I want to hear something real.
I think there are answers in that room, though. I think Werenski's an answer. I think Fantilli's an answer. I think Sillinger's an answer. I think Matejchuk's an answer. Greaves is an answer. I don't think this is a rebuild. I really don't.
Again, that's the team. Oh, there was one 24-game stretch where they're the best team in the league. That speaks to some potential.
Only 2 goalies in the history of this franchise. Wait, I can't say that. Pull it down. That's not right.
Oh.
If they would have won last night, I had a great number that only 2 goalies, Steve Mason and Sergei Bobrovsky, have ever won more games in a season than Jet Greaves won this year. It's no longer true. And that number is 26 is busy. There's a lot of guys at 26. So
which day of training camp did Elvis say, you think that guy's going to play 50 games? You think
that's another guy that could be moving on, should be moving on, right?
Or it's 5.25, one more year left on the contract. I think you eat it. If you can't move it, eat it. With the cap going up, that'd be a good sign from ownership that there will be some accountability.
Hey, tell me I'm not consistent. This will be 3 years in a row. I've said you got to eat it. That has to change. And forget all the off the ice stuff that again we're not privy to all of it.
No.
The save percentage, the performance, it's not good enough. It isn't good enough. That's my beef, right? That's my beef.
Oh, Porty, you're pointing at the numbers.
Get a second goalie.
Let's get the numbers. Yeah.
How about analytics guy, Mike? Save percentage.
I need
Michael Arace, thanks for joining me. I do appreciate it. I'll see you over there at the brink here briefly. Mike, where can people find you and Disrespected Media? Throw it out there.
Oh, Porty, I just want to say that one of my best friends and longest running colleagues, folks should subscribe to Front Nationwide and The Athletic, where all your fine work is found. You are, as everyone knows, the mayor of Jackettville. I may have been the first Dispatch beat writer at the Dispatch, the lead beat writer. You were there at the start as well as the backup, but you have certainly captured the zeitgeist of the team and its fans over the course of these years since early 2000s. My home base is thedisrespected.com. That's where you find my writing.
Yes.
3 days a week and free on Saturdays. Come on over and subscribe. I'm cheap. I'm starting to run out of money, so please do so as soon as possible. I also have 2 podcasts, the Cannonballs podcast and the Crucible, which is Columbus Crew related, and things are getting weird there as well. So it's a good time to check out my work and throw me a couple bucks, a cup of coffee, if you will.
There you go. You do need a cup of coffee. We have addressed that. Mike,
No,
you
we
think of
haven't yet.
everything?
That's the problem. We haven't addressed that I need a cup of coffee.
We have. You have not. Always a pleasure, my man. See you in a little bit. Thanks for joining us here, Front and Nationwide. Michael Arace, everybody.
All right, peace out, Porty. Take care, everybody.
Is that the biggest part of the frustration, knowing that you believe that the pieces and the players are in this room to be a winning team, to be a playoff team?
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating, and I think when you go back, you can see how good of a team we are when we're playing the team game. We can beat any team in this league, and we get away from it, and we can't bring it back in, and we can't get wins down the stretch when we need them most. And Bones talked about it gets harder, and we didn't up our level of game, and other teams did.
Specifically, how tough is it to end with, I think, 6 losses in a row at home? You've been such a good home team to have it end in that way.
Yeah, I think it's just it goes to show how hard it is to get in, and how coming down the stretch here, that's when your game has to be elevated, and that's when you have to be at the top of your game. And for us, I just think it wasn't the case. We let it slip, and for whatever reason we couldn't get it back, and that's the frustrating part. Obviously, we lost some bodies there, but that's no excuse. Hockey's it's part of hockey, and I think with our group, I don't took too much time on reflection of really what went on, but it certainly felt like once we lost it there, we couldn't get any momentum back to get it going. I thought we had a lot of opportunities, especially like you said with the amount of home games we had. We had some help from the league as far as teams losing, and we just couldn't capitalize and get enough wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we talked about before tonight is we wanted to have a good performance at home. It's frustrating. I think it's important for us that home ice is a tough place for other teams to play, and I mean we've such amazing fans that support us so much every night, and especially through this stretch, our fans have been amazing. So it's frustrating for us, on the aspect of we want to get in the playoffs, and it's also frustrating. We want to be better for our home fans in front of them. So it's again something we'll look at and try to improve on.
Jim, when the frustration of this fades over the next few days, will you think about the possibility that you played in Ovechkin's final NHL game? Will that be special to you?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, I guess only he knows, what his plan is. But of course, I mean, anytime you get an opportunity to play against, a great player like that, I mean, he's had such an amazing career, and it's easy to see why. I mean, he's such a special player, and from everything I've heard about him, he's a great person. So I think it's so cool, and yeah, it's amazing to be able to play against a player like that. If it is his last game or whatever his plan is, regardless, it's always special to play against him.
Okay, we've got quite a bunch of AskPorties. It's always tough because sometimes we don't know exactly when we're recording, so there's not always a lot of runway here for questions. But I do appreciate you jumping on many of you last night. We'll get to as many as we can here. I got to leave in about 15, 20 minutes. Off to the rink. Players are cleaning out their lockers today, and it could be an interesting day on that end, as you can imagine. All right. This from Brent Starkey. If Bones is right and some players don't care enough about losing, parentheses, I can't believe it's all of them. Why don't they? Do they feel like Columbus isn't a city worth playing hard for? That the fans aren't worth playing hard for? Brent, it's a hell of a question. Why? And I think there's a million different things that people will point to, and I don't think any of us really know to put our finger on it. I think, I don't know. It's tough to say. Like, I will never blame the fans if they boo the team off the ice. Of course, the players don't like that either. They won't want to play for teams that boo them, but there are fans that boo them. But do they want to play? Does that motivate them? That kind of stuff. Does the media play a role for not confronting guys and asking tougher questions? Does that breed a more competitive team if they feel like they're going to be questioned? Some guys say it does. Some guys are like, you guys don't really matter that much. Don't get too big of an idea of who you are. I think it comes down to like what the expectations are. And again, when I hear a team talk about making the playoffs every year, and I don't want to hear teams say we want to win the Stanley Cup, because there have been years where I've reeled against that too, where it's like you were 27th in the league last year. You traded like 4 of your best players over the summer for draft picks. What are you talking about? This isn't a Stanley Cup run year. But I also don't think that just making the playoffs should be seen as this huge accomplishment. My God, again, half the league makes it. I think there are some players, modern players especially, the money has gotten so big that making it to the NHL is the achievement. I think there are fewer players, and I know a lot of you don't like him. I think you respect him, but you don't like Sidney Crosby. I understand. But he is absolutely relentlessly driven to winning, to the point where he practices still harder than almost anybody else in the league. And I think there are guys for whom making it to the NHL is the goal and has been achieved. I think there are players, and I'm not just talking about this dressing room. I think there are players who like being an NHL player more than they like playing NHL games, winning NHL games. It's the lifestyle they love more than the challenge of winning. A story I think I've shared here before, I won't use names, but a Blue Jackets player was traded to a team with Stanley Cup expectations, and middle of the season. And within the first couple days of him being there, after a workout or after a practice, was eating a Quaker Oats granola bar. I know you're going like, where the hell is this going, Porty? But bear with me. A Quaker Oats granola bar. And upon seeing the player eating this grocery store, basically candy bar, granola bar, the veteran player from this team literally hit it out of his mouth. Bang. Smacked him. Barely knew this player, knocked it out of his mouth, and said to him, "We don't eat that shit here." Right? The standard. Boom. The expectations, the demands. And I feel like that sort of culture, not easy for a lot of guys to live with, and players get moved along if it's a little too rich for them. But that they need more of that. Maybe not to that extreme, but they need more players who are built that way, where the only thing that matters is winning. That's it. All right, I got to go quicker here. Great question, Brant. Did I even answer it? I don't know, but I tried. This is from M. Schilling. Do you think this team needs a significant shakeup to succeed? Trading at least one of the young and some prospects, can they grow into a true contender as is without minor tweaks? So what the question you're asking is one I'm probably going to ask in the Monday notes next week. Does the rebuild need to be rebuilt? And I think it's a fair question. I don't think they need another rebuild here. I don't. I think they have some really, with Fantilli, Werenski, Matejchuk, Greaves, probably forgetting people. I like Sillinger. I'm fine with Sillinger. I think the goals are going to come. I'm not giving up on that player. I think he's a glue guy. There are others I'm probably missing. They have the foundation of a really good cluster of young players. I think you can fill around that. I think you've got issues if Coyle leaves, if Jenner leaves. You once again, especially if Monahan can't stay healthy, he had a tough year in that respect this year. You now have an issue down the middle again. Does Sillinger go back to the middle? They've got Lundestrom. It won't be as bad, even if those two guys leave, it won't be as bad as it has been. Will it be good enough? Fair question. I don't think they're looking at a rebuild, but they need some substantive changes. They need some rattle the room type moves, especially after your coach goes on one of those. Jonathan Suzuki, Jonathan Suzuki, of course. How did tonight's post-game comments recontextualize, nice word, Laine's remark about the team last season? I know what you're getting at, and I'll say it this way. I think maybe the last person on earth that should be questioning a franchise's character and drive is Patrick Laine. Okay. That's been a challenge for him throughout his career. That's all I mean. Nothing personal. That's been questioned about him literally at every stop. In Winnipeg, in Columbus, and now in Montreal. He's healthy enough to play in Montreal right now. He's not playing. I think that's the answer to that. I think you can be out of place. You can be not the guy to weigh in on it and still right, but I think those words ring hollow if they come from the wrong person. Let's see. Willie Lutz says, where are we with Dmitry Voronkov? It's a great question. I think that's one of the great parts of the uncertainty that we carry into summer here. What becomes of Voronkov? That's a hell of a player if you can untap him. I just don't know where it's going now. Bowness thought they were better with their assembled personnel, thought they were better without him in the lineup. That's not a good sign. He had 17 goals. Columbus Blue Jackets have not scratched too many people with 17 goals before. So that is up in the air. I love what that player can bring. It is time for him to bring it. Let's see. Bones' indictment of the lack of heart and desire from the team, including the leadership group. What does that say about Werenski? He didn't name names, Bones. I don't think he was talking about Werenski. And I don't think, he's not the captain. So in that way, you can say that he's not calling him out. He is part of the leadership group, though. Everyone took bullets last night. Everyone deserved them. I think Werenski's going to be here, and I think he may well be the captain next year. Let's see here. Dylan T. asked Waddell last night what he wanted to add this summer. His answer was depth players. This is from Peter Clavin. Peter, I think we talked about this with Mike. I think he's referencing if Marchman should leave, if Coyle should leave. I think there's going to be changes here. I do. And the whole depth thing, you do need depth, of course. I don't think depth was the issue this year. Right? They had some injuries, but the guys that should have been depth players here, they just didn't get it done. Miles Wood did not score a goal in Nationwide Arena all damn season. He had 8 goals, all of them on the road. And he hasn't scored in I don't know how long. Miles Wood was not the player they expected him to be. He started that way, didn't finish that way. Right? There's so many guys that, and one of the troubling things, you look at their fourth line last night, Johnson's there, Lundestrom was there. I don't even remember who was in the middle. Monahan. Monahan's got to play higher in the lineup if he's healthy, of course. But that fourth line, once again, is just it's pieces, parts. It's the toys that don't fit anywhere else. And I hate that. We saw what a fourth line can be when they played Boston. Holy hell. That fourth line was like, guys, we've got this game. Pasta, try to get your goal. Otherwise, don't worry about it. And that fourth line, I thought, really showed how soft and how light the Blue Jackets were playing, because that line with Corrali, Kastelich, and I can't remember who was on the other side. I apologize. The player deserves a mention. But that line freaking dominated. And it didn't matter who was out there against them for the Blue Jackets. They just didn't want the smoke. They did not want the smoke. That line, fourth line, not loaded with a ton of skill. That line had chances over and over again. Jerry says, since ownership doesn't care to spend money, Jerry, I'm going to check you right there before I read the rest of it. Ownership spending money has not been the issue. There's some off the ice stuff. They're trying to buy a plane right now. That's got to get better. The players groused about that all year. That's got to get better, but they have paid for free agents. They have paid they've paid. Maybe they can pay in areas that don't count against the cap. Maybe they need more of that. That's fair. But I don't think the ownership group not paying here is the issue. Them not being visible enough, sure. I'll hear that. But anyways, let's see here. We only have time for a couple more. I do apologize. Jonathan Barnes, it was more refreshing than a nice cold fresca to see Bones encapsulate the fans' frustration last night. Do you think Bones calling a spade will hurt his odds of coming back? I do not. I think, well, I guess we'll see. But I think Don Waddell wants him back. And I think the players who think they want Rick Bowness back, I understand why they do. Good guy. You can learn a lot from him. I think they may get a different version of Rick Bowness next year. I don't think anything's allowed to slide. Let's see here. Bruce Buckeye, now that the season is over, do you get a sense that this team may lean into a 2 to 4 year rebuild? I do not, nor do I think that's necessary. They're not at that rebuild point. Let's see here. Why did it take 25 years of abject failure and a coach finally blowing his lid for you to ask questions related to the culture of losing? Oh, Espresso. Expresso. I think that's how you go by it. Buddy, we've been talking about this all along. And I'm not going to be the reactive, angry fan, not the job. But it hasn't been 25 years of abject failure. It hasn't. And I think most fans, if they can turn off the frustration from this season, from last night, will realize there's been some pretty great moments here through the years. They haven't been good enough. They haven't been close to good enough. They haven't been competitive enough. But this idea that it's been 25 years of nothing but failure, that's ridiculous. We ask tough questions. We don't always get the answers you want. We probably don't frame it the way you want. Maybe you want more confrontation. I'm not sure that's effective either. But hey, I also don't want to talk you out of your opinion. You are free to believe I don't do the job fully as I should. I will. Obviously, I do it the way I think it should be done. We can disagree on that. Full respect. I don't mind the call out. Yeah, let's see here. Give Olivier the C. Hey, all this is from Mr. Majestic. I think everything's on the table. I feel like if you're going to hand out a C, it goes to Wierenski. So there we go. Got to as many as we could. Sorry, I wasn't able to get to all of them, but that's a good sign. Keep them coming. Maybe someday this summer too, we'll do an entire AskPorty. I'm hoping to figure out a way where we can do a live recording and bring people in. It won't be like the live room was with the Athletic when we could do the literally hear you ask the question. It would be more like a chat field. Maybe we just do that on YouTube. Anyways, thanks for being here. Thanks for the questions as always. Lots of stuff to talk about this summer. We may do another one of these later this week based upon how things play out here. Keep an eye on whether Rick Bowness comes back. You would think he's going to now. What the players say coming out of the locker room today, and any other thing we can we learn here in the next couple of days. So we'll be here. Do appreciate you all, and thanks. You've been listening to Front and Nationwide. Thanks to all those who helped make this possible. Take care.